Dear friends, let's discuss about the plasma membrane. Now, what is plasma membrane? Plasma membrane is the living boundary of the cell. It is the edge of the cell. It is the boundary of the life, because cell is living. Cell is the smallest living entity, and the cell is delimited by the plasma membrane. Yes, of course, cell wall is present outside the plasma membrane in some cases, but in many cases it is absent, and the cell wall, if it is present even though, then it is dead cell. Cell wall is a dead thing. So whatever living outside is the plasma membrane. The outermost living material of the cell is the plasma membrane, and that's why it is interestingly said that plasma membrane is the edge of the life. And this is very remarkable, because we know plasma membrane has a tremendous capacity, or it is brilliant in deciding what to put out inside the cell and what to put outside the cell. During the course of evolution of the cell, development of the plasma membrane is one of the most fascinating achievement. Fascinating, because suppose amoeba, it is a single cell living in water. A lot of water is present outside the amoeba, and so many other materials, salts, etc., they are present in the water, but they are not entering into the cell. The cell decides what amount of water should be taken in, what amount of soil should be taken in, and what not. So see how fascinating. It is just the plasma membrane which is deciding the traffic at the cell level, and it is helping the cell to survive. Otherwise, suppose the plasma starts its functioning, stops its functioning, what would happen? Anything would go inside the cell, anything would go outside the cell, and that would be impossible for the cell to live. Life would be impossible. So in that context, I said plasma membrane is very important thing about the life, about the cell. Now this plasma membrane, different structures were proposed. It is present in both. It is present in eukaryotic cell, it is present in prokaryotic cell. In prokaryotic cell, we already discussed, it is a part of the cell envelope. It is the third layer in the cell envelope. In the eukaryotic cell, it is not the part of cell wall, it is the part of protoplasm, and it is delimiting the protoplasm. It is semi-permeable, it is selectively permeable, it is semi-permeable for the solvents, water and other liquid materials, solvents, and it is selectively permeable for the solutes, and it selects what to send inside the cell, what to send out of the cell. So in this way the plasma membrane is very important. Now the structure of the plasma membrane, different scientists have proposed different models at length of the time, but one of the most important model that was accepted worldwide is given by Nicholson and Singer and Nicholson in 1972. They proposed a model, and the model is very well accepted by the scientific community, and the model is accepted as fluid mosaic model. Fluid mosaic model given by Nicholson and Singer. Now why it is fluid and why it is mosaic, we will discuss during the course. I have already drawn the figure here, fluid mosaic model. According to Nicholson and Singer, the mosaic model, the model of plasma membrane, consists of three chief materials. The first one is lipids, then proteins, and third, carbohydrates. We will talk about the lipids first. The lipids which are present in the fluid mosaic model, most of them are the phospholipids. These phospholipids are forming a bilayer. I have shown it in the figure. phospholipids. They are forming a bilayer, and each phospholipid is having a head and a tail piece. The head is hydrophilic and the tail is hydrophobic. So the phospholipids, which are the units consisting of a hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tail. Hydrophilic head means water loving head and water repelling tail. Now this is very important because the phospholipids are forming a bilayer. In this bilayer we can see here so many phospholipids are present there. They are arranged in two layers, and the layers are arranged in such a way that all the tails are towards one another and all the heads are away from one another. Now this explains how the fluidity comes in the model. The lipids which are forming a bilayer are actually held together by the hydrophobic forces. They are not bound to one another. They are not tightly packed by any other external force. They are not held together by any other means. All these lipids, phospholipids, which are forming the bilipid layer here, they are arranged there by their own hydrophobic forces. The heads, you can see here, this is the outer part of the cell, this is cytoplasm, inner part of the cell. Now in the cytoplasm water is present, out of the cell water is present. In both the cases the water loving heads are towards water. In both the layers the water loving heads are towards water. They are facing the side where water is present, and the tail pieces, they are water repelling, they are away from the water. Water is present here, so tails are away from water. Water is present here, tails are away from water, and in this way the bilipid layer is held together. It is bilipid layer, it is fluidy in nature because they are not bound with one another. They are just held in their positions. The heads are arranged in one plane due to the hydrophobic forces, hydrophobic and hydrophilic forces. We have not arranged them. The lipids themselves are arranged due to these forces. These are weak forces, and therefore they can move. They can show flip-flop movement. This may go here, this phospholipid may go here. That is called as flip-flop movement. They can go from one layer to another layer and they can move. We can add membrane into this plasma membrane, we can remove membrane, it can form phagocyte vesicle, it can show exocytosis, endocytosis, all these things. Membrane flow is possible due to this fluidity. So these phospholipids are arranged in such a way that they are forming the quasi-fluid. The nature is fluidy, and this is very important thing. Otherwise the membrane flow would have been not possible. We know the material which comes from nucleus or endoplasmic reticulum is carried to Golgi complex through lysosome, and lysosome forms vesicle, and those vesicles go to the plasma membrane. They expel out the material and become the part of plasma membrane, part of the cell membrane. Why this is possible? Membrane can be added into the plasma membrane, membrane can be removed from the plasma membrane. All this is possible due to the fluidity. The phospholipids are not bound to one another, they are held together by some weak forces, hydrophobic or water forces, and due to those forces, weak forces, they can be moved from one place to another place, one layer to another layer, flip-flop movement, or membrane can be added or removed. So fluidity is there. The membrane becomes fluid due to this arrangement of the phospholipids. Now along with phospholipids, some other materials are present there, other lipids are present there, and one of the important lipid is the cholesterol. Dear friends, many of us tell others that we should not eat cholesterol. See, cholesterol is an important constituent of the plasma membrane or cell membrane. This gives rigidity and toughness to the membrane. Cholesterol is important to give rigidity. Few other gangliosides, etc., other lipids are also present, but cholesterol is important because it gives a rigidity, toughness to the plasma membrane. Therefore, cholesterol is present. So, all lipids which are present here, they are phospholipids and some of other cholesterol or gangliosides, etc. Phospholipids are much more in quantity. However, sometimes lipids and proteins are equal in a membrane. Different cells have different types of membrane. This amount of the proteins and lipids is differing, but 50% lipids, 50% proteins, or sometimes 70% lipids, 30% proteins, of 60% lipids and 40% proteins. All these are the possibilities in different cells. So anyhow, lipids, phospholipids, bilipid layer, giving quasi fluid or fluidity to the model. Now come to the proteins. The proteins which are present in this bilipid layer of plasma membrane, there are of two types: the integral proteins or intrinsic proteins, integral or intrinsic proteins, and the extrinsic proteins or peripheral proteins. Extrinsic proteins or peripheral proteins. You can see in the figure, this one is the long one, it is the integral protein. It passes from one layer to another, or it passes throughout the plasma membrane. So the proteins which pass throughout the plasma membrane are called as integral proteins, and 70% of the proteins are of this type, integral proteins. Remaining proteins, 30% proteins, are the extrinsic proteins or peripheral proteins. Protein is one of the most important component of the plasma membrane. Now the proteins, I said 50% proteins may be present, 50% of the plasma membrane may be made up of proteins. So the quantity is big, and these proteins are important because they are doing different functions. Either they are structural proteins forming the structure, or functional proteins. They act as enzymes, they act as carriers. They decide, some proteins decide what to let inside the cell, what to let outside the cell. So they are the carrier proteins, they are the enzymatic proteins, they are the proteins which decide, which realize, the sensor proteins which realize what is the material outside the cell, whether it should be allowed inside the cell or not. And in this way, proteins are the most important part of the plasma membrane. They are structural and functional proteins. They help in carrier also, they help in active transportation also. Facilitated diffusion is thoroughly dependent on the proteins, we will discuss it later on, and the active transportation is also done by the proteins only. The sodium potassium pump is maintained, equilibrium is maintained by the proteins only, and therefore these proteins are important. Integral proteins, peripheral. Integral 90% protein, 70% proteins, and peripheral 30% proteins. The next one is carbohydrates. These carbohydrates are also called as oligosaccharides, and as compared to the lipids and the proteins, carbohydrates are of less important. The lipids and proteins are the most important part of the plasma membrane or cell membrane, but along that the carbohydrates are also present there. So the carbohydrates are of two types. They are either glycolipids or glycoproteins. Glycolipids are those carbohydrates which are attached, these are the chains, polysaccharide chains, oligosaccharides. So the polysaccharide chains of carbohydrates which are attached to the lipids, you can see here, this is attached to lipid. So if they are attached to lipid, they are called as glycolipids. If they are attached to the proteins, they are called as glycoproteins. Again, they are sensory in nature and they recognize what is present outside the cell. Just like some of the proteins, they are also important and they are acting as the sensors of the cell. What is the material outside the cell, etc. Their role is very complicated, but even then they are very important constituent of the cell. So these are some of the constituents of the plasma membrane. This is the model given by Nicholson and Singer in 1972, one of the most widely accepted model of the proteins, model of the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, I tell you again, is called as cell membrane, or it is also called as plasma lemma. Cell membrane word was used by C. Nageli, a botanist, scientist from botany. So this is the about the plasma membrane, structure of the plasma membrane. Now we would discuss the functions of the plasma membrane, and the most important function of the plasma membrane, you know, is the transportation. But prior to that, it gives shape to the cell. I told you, it is the edge of the life, it is the boundary of the life, because cell wall is present in some of the organisms, and those organisms have outermost boundary as the cell wall. But the animals, especially mycoplasma especially, they have this plasma membrane as the delimiting layer. Naturally it protects the cell, it gives shape to the cell, it gives rigidity, it gives permeability to the cell, and one of the important thing, it selects what to go inside and outside. So this transportation is the most important function, most remarkable function, or it is something very striking feature of the plasma membrane, because the life of the cell depends on this. So transportation, now this transportation is of two types. Basically it is of three types. First one is active or passive, suppose passive transportation, then active transportation, and bulk transportation. The passive transportation is by means of diffusion, by means of osmosis, and by means of facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion. The active transportation is by means of sodium potassium pump, and bulk transportation is again of two types. It is endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis is again of two types, phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Let's discuss one by one. First of all, diffusion. Diffusion is a passive transportation. Passive transportation is a transportation in which energy is not required. Some work is not done. Naturally, due to the diffusion pressure, the materials go inside and outside the cell. And I tell you, diffusion is the most of the transportation along the plasma membrane is taking place by diffusion. Most of the traffic along the plasma membrane is taking place by diffusion method. Now what is diffusion? It is natural. It is everywhere. Diffusion. When we see the solute concentration, higher solute concentration, it naturally is equalized, equilibrium is formed. The material from higher concentration is passing to the lower concentration. So if I have some smell in my hands, suppose a flower of champaka, its smell spreads in the air. Why? Because of diffusion. Where we see diffusion. So this diffusion is the flow of solute from higher concentration to lower concentration if the membrane permits. Now the condition is that if membrane permits to pass the solute, then only it can pass. If membrane doesn't permit, solute cannot pass. So if the membrane permits, there are certain solutes in which the membrane permits them to pass, then the diffusion takes place. The best example is the gaseous exchange at heart level, lungs level, or at our cell level. What is gaseous exchange? We inhale air, oxygen is present, more amount of oxygen, high concentration of oxygen is present in the air. Now when the air reaches lungs, there our capillaries are there, in which the impure blood is present, deoxygenated blood is present. Now in that deoxygenated blood, the oxygen, CO2 which has been collected from throughout our body, that is present in that deoxygenated blood. So the carbon dioxide concentration in the blood, in the lungs, is more. In the pulmonary vein it is more, and CO2 concentration in the air which we have inhaled in our lungs is less. Oxygen concentration in the inhaled air is more, and oxygen concentration in the blood in the lungs is less. So naturally the oxygen goes inside the veins there, inside our pulmonary arteries, the arteries or veins, whatever blood vesicle, blood capillaries, and the CO2 comes out. Alveoli, the lungs inside it is having alveoli. So at the alveoli level, the CO2 goes outside the blood vesicle, blood capillaries, and O2 comes inside, and this is natural diffusion. No one is doing this forcefully, or any ATP or any type of energy is not required for it. So that is diffusion. In the same way, same procedure is taking place at cellular level. CO2 is produced inside the cell in a respiration, so that concentration, higher concentration of CO2 naturally passes into the blood where there is low concentration, and oxygen which is higher in blood is passing to the cells. So that is available to the respiration. In this way diffusion is taking place. Now the condition is that if the solute is allowed to pass through the membrane. What happens if the solute is not allowed? Then osmosis takes place. If there is a barrier for the solute to pass, then one solution is with high concentration of solutes, another solution with a low concentration of solute. The solution with high concentration of solutes is known as hypertonic solution. The solution with low concentration of solute is known as hypotonic solution. If both are same in salts, then it is isotonic solution. So the grapes, example is grapes. We put the grapes in simple water, the grapes swell because water is hypotonic solution and grapes are hypertonic. Water moves from lower concentration of solute to higher What is the movement? From lower concentration to higher. Who moves? Solvent moves. So osmosis is the procedure in which solvent moves from lower concentration of solute to higher concentration of solute. From hypotonic solution to hypertonic solution. The solvent is moving, water is moving. So it is the movement of solvent, it is the movement from lower concentration to higher concentration, from hypotonic solution to hypertonic solution, and this osmosis is also taking place at the plasma membrane level. Now facilitated diffusion is done by certain proteins. Specially designed proteins are there present in the plasma membrane, and these proteins are designed to carry some of the solutes, specific solutes, not all solutes. It has a specific structure to allow that solute to fit in it, and it carries the solute from one place outer to inside the cell or inside to outside the cell. I have a slide of it, I will show it on the system. So facilitated diffusion. All these three are the passive transports where energy is not required. These are not done purposefully. No energy is required. No ATPs are consumed. Now ATPs are consumed in active transportation. Now in active transportation, the sodium potassium pump is active there. I would again elaborately discuss it with the help of slide. But remember that there are certain proteins, integral proteins, which have binding sites and they can bind 3 sodium ions and carry sodium ions from inside cell to outside, one way flow. Sodium ions are carried from inner side or cytoplasm to outside the cell, and potassium 2 molecules, 2 ions of potassium from outside to inside. So potassium are positive ions, sodium are in positive ions, some positive ions, 3 positive ions are thrown outside, 2 are taken in, 3 outside, 2 taken in, 3 outside, 2 taken in. This disturbs the equilibrium. Charges are differed. Now outside the cell there is more positive charge and inside the cell there is more negative charge, and due to this difference in the charge, the passive transportation takes. Some of the materials directly come inside to manage or to make equal charges, and in this way the active transportation is used to facilitate or to start the passive transportation. At sodium potassium pump, here ATP is consumed. The ATP 1 phosphorus N phosphorus is given to the protein molecule. The bulk transportation is of two types, where some larger molecules, materials are taken inside or outside, that is known as endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis if the material is taken inside the cell, exocytosis if the material is thrown outside the cell. Endocytosis is again of two types, phagocytosis and pinocytosis. We know phagocytosis in amoeba. Amoeba eats by means of formation of the phagocyte vesicle, and this vesicle is formed in the same way. Plasma membrane acts in the same way. It forms tentacles or pseudopodia like structure. The pseudopodia covers or engulfs the surrounds the material which is to be taken inside the cell, and when the the pseudopodia grows, they form continually. The material is taken inside, it is present in the vesicle, and that vesicle is known as phagocyte. Therefore it is phagocytosis. Cell eating, when cell eats some solid material, it is called as phagocytosis. When cell drinks, cell drinking, it is pinocytosis. In pinocytosis, the cell takes inside the liquid material, so it is cell drinking. Procedure is same. The pseudopodia are formed, and whatever solvent, whatever liquid to be taken inside, it is taken. Pinocyte vesicle is formed, so it is pinocytosis. Exocytosis is cell omitting, when cell expels something outside it. Again it is a reverse phagocytosis or reverse pinocytosis. The vesicle comes to the plasma membrane, then vesicle becomes the part of plasma membrane, it opens outside and material is thrown outside. So it is cell omitting or the cell expelling material in exocytosis. Now I can explain all these things again with the help of some slides. I have some beautiful slides. This is the fluid mosaic model, one of the very beautiful figure here I have with me. Explaining all details, I would like to use a pen here. So this is pen. Now these are the lipids. See here, these are the heads and these are the hydrophobic tails, and they are forming this bilipid layer. The other lipids like cholesterol, they are present here. Here cholesterol is present. See, the amount of cholesterol is quite high. At places it is present, and it is important because it gives rigidity to the cells. Now see the proteins. Here are the integral proteins. This is what I am playing with is the integral protein. This is integral protein, this is integral protein, this is integral protein. You can see a lot amount of integral proteins are present there. 70% integral proteins are present in the cell, and this is the peripheral protein. This is the peripheral protein. These are the some of the peripheral proteins. So extrinsic or peripheral proteins 30%, and integrated or intrinsic proteins they are 90%. Then let's see the carbohydrates. This is a carbohydrate chain, oligosaccharide chain, which is attached to the protein. This is a oligosaccharide chain which is attached to the protein. So they are called as glycoproteins. But here is a chain which is attached to the lipids and it is called as glycolipids. So overall, this is the outer surface of the cell. This is cytoplasm, yellowish colored cytoplasm, inner side of the cell, and in this way the fluid mosaic model is working. It is made up of lipids, then proteins and some carbohydrates together. It is quasi-fluid. The lipids are giving the quasi-fluid nature, fluidity to the plasma membrane. The proteins are giving mosaic pattern and therefore it is fluid mosaic model. It is proposed by Nicholson and Singer in 1972 and it is one of the most accepted model. Now here the function of the plasma membrane can be discussed with the help of these figures. You can see here the simple diffusion. Here high concentration of solute is present, so naturally they diffuse through the membrane, and we know the bilipid layer is fluidity, it is in fluid nature, so the material can pass through it if it is higher in concentration at one side. So simple diffusion. This is facilitated diffusion where some of the proteins are taking the material inside, and with this another figure we can see here the exact facilitated diffusion. Now there is a protein with some spherical structure inside it and the solute can fit here. So when such solutes and such proteins are present, the solutes are taken from outside cell to the inside cell by means of the proteins. These are specially designed proteins for specific solutes. So facilitated diffusion takes place in this way. Now this is active transportation where the ATPs are required. We have a very good figure here. Active transportation, how the sodium and potassium ions are exchanged across the plasma membrane. You can see here, we would start here as mentioned in the figure. This is a protein with 3 sites for attachment of the sodium and 2 sites for attachment of the potassium. So this protein is open inside the cell, its mouth is opening inside the cell and it is allowing the sodium ions to take their places inside the protein. Now when the 3 sodium ions are bound with the protein, ATP comes here, it gives its terminal phosphate group to the protein and it becomes ADP, adenosine triphosphate becomes adenosine diphosphate with a removal of one phosphate group which is given to the protein, and the protein receives the energy also. Now the protein conformation changes. Protein conformation changes here, and this protein closes its mouth inside and it opens outside the cell. In this way, the protein when opens outside the cell, the sodium molecules, sodium ions are put outside the cell and these potassium ions take their places. There are 2 sites for attachment of the potassium ions and they get their places and they are bind with the protein. Now this protein removes the phosphate group which was given to it by the ATP and it again changes its conformation and it closes its mouth on outside and opens inside, and when it opens inside the cell it gives its potassium ions inside the cell. In this way continuously 3 sodium ions are going outside the cell and 2 potassium ions are coming in the cell. Both are positive and the positive charge outside the cell is increasing, positive charge inside the cell is decreasing, and in this way the negative charge is created inside the cell so that other materials enter into the cell by some passive transportation. So this is sodium potassium pump, and it is active in the cell. It is one of the very important sodium potassium pump is one of the most important thing regarding the um, proteins. You might be knowing that there is one scientist, Jean Christian, Danish scientist, Jean Christian Schorn, who got Nobel Prize. He actually gave the concept of sodium potassium pump in 1957, but he got the Nobel Prize for his work in 1997. So this is sodium potassium pump. It is actually very complex structure, complex mechanism. This is phagocytosis and pinocytosis. In phagocytosis, the solid material is taken inside the cell by plasma membrane by forming a vesicle, and that vesicle is known as phagocyte. This is pinocytosis, where the liquid material is taken and a pinocyte is formed. In both the cases, vesicles are formed. These are the endocytosis. In exocytosis, the reverse pinocytosis or phagocytosis takes place. So this is all about the plasma membrane, functions of the plasma membrane. So dear friends, in this way today we discussed about the plasma membrane, its structure and the functions of the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, as we know, is one of the most important thing about the cell, because it selects what to allow, it selects the traffic across the plasma membrane, and the life of the cell, function of the cell, activity of the cell are thoroughly dependent on that. I think this is sufficient for today, and thank you very much.